Hi everyone, if you're an existing subscriber, hello and welcome back. If you're new to my channel, why not hit subscribe now? I'm your host Alicia Vittoria Keane and I've been interviewing inspirational people and businesses to find out how and why they inspire others. This week I interviewed actress Ionica Adriana about her journey from being in an orphanage until the age of 2.5 to her acting career. Here's how it went. Hello, welcome to the channel. If you could just start by introducing yourself, who are you and what do you do?
Hello, my name is Ionica Adriana and I'm an actress, presenter and singer.
You actually started life in an orphanage. So you were only young, you were only 2, so you probably can't remember a lot. But how did you end up here?
Well, I was put into the orphanage when I was about 5 months, and then I stayed there until I was 2.5, and my parents couldn't have children at the time, so they came over from the UK. The Berlin Wall had come down and my mum was having an ectopic pregnancy in Switzerland, and then the news came on and was like, this is a sign, let's go over. And then they went over a lot. I think it was 13 times in 1 year or something like that, just to different orphanages and stuff like that. And then here I am.
So what made them decide to go to your orphanage? Obviously, there's loads of places over here. There's loads of other countries. So why did they choose Romania?
I think it was just solely because the Berlin Wall had come down and all of the orphanages were then exposed, and it was just this massive, oh my goodness, what is happening in Romania? And it was just the conditions were so hideous, and so many people went over just to give aid and try and help as well. I think really the UK the world had never really seen anything like it before. So I think that's what spurred them on to go there. The reason that they chose that particular orphanage was, I think, one of the fourth or fifth ones that they went to. There was a lot of reasons why people couldn't get adopted. There was a lot of trafficking, a lot of paedophile rings. If you couldn't get in touch with the birth parent, how helpful the authorities were or weren't, or how they got help, and then why certain orphanages got just pointed towards, right, this one's got children in that could possibly be adopted. So they didn't kind of cherry pick which orphanage they went to, I don't think, but it was just circumstantial.
Did they have to go through like a huge long process, or was it quite quick?
Yeah, very long process. It's especially then in the 90s, it just really was a very difficult thing to do. And like I said, there was a lot of trafficking and a lot of paedophile rings that we now have been more exposed to and knowledge about them. So no, it isn't an easy process. And especially then in the 90s, doing an international adoption was just, it kind of almost felt impossible.
Sounds quite difficult, but you're here, obviously.
Here I am.
Were they quite open with you from a young age about being adopted, or was it something that they told you later on in life?
Yeah, we've always been very open about adoption. I think it's always been a celebration. It's never been anything to hide. I think situations like adoption really only ever work on true honesty, but that's just because of my circumstances. I can't imagine being told on my 16th birthday. I think that must be horrific for all parties, not just the parents telling, well, not just for the child, but for everybody involved, because it then opens up a whole can of worms. I think because it was such a difficult process for them to do, again, it was a celebration, and that they really wanted children, and that why shouldn't they celebrate the fact that something so amazing that was so difficult to do has happened, and they've actually succeeded. Because I was adopted with another girl as well, so to adopt twice and have 2 success stories was a really big deal. And I think we had visitors or something for 6 or 12 weeks when we first came to England.
Okay.
Just come and see us.
Oh, how cute. Do you think you would have felt different had they not have told you like so early on and they left it till later on? Do you think you would have personally felt different?
Oh gosh, the situation that I was adopted from, being born in a communist regime and understanding your history, very much kind of, I don't know whether if I'd been told when I was really young or really old, that learning about the communist regime and learning why you're adopted could maybe turn why I would maybe think differently. I know a lot of people are really angry when they find out, because they question everything, and then is everything a lie? I think as well, we just looked very different. I mean, two little tan babies running around with two Yorkshire parents. I mean, people were always going to ask questions. So, but no, I don't feel that, like, obviously I'm joking on that part, but it's, yeah, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine just finding out your whole history was not, because what confuses me as well when people do tell their children late on that they're adopted is, do they make something up in replacement of the time that they didn't have them? And then that becomes a question, and then was that all of that a lie? And I'm just speaking on kind of an outside eye and speculating, because you just have to take it on each individual case. But yeah, I can't imagine it.
You have also recently got in contact with your birth mum and your sister.
Yes.
What was your reasoning for wanting to find them?
Well, again, knowing our history and knowing that it was out of pure desperation and there was absolutely no blame, I always, if I ever had the chance, I always said that I would want to thank her for the reason that she gave me up for. The reason intended was for a better life, and I do have a better life. I have an amazing life. And even if I just got to say that one thing to her, then that, I mean, it's never enough. Yeah, it was everything that we've always tried to do in terms of finding out anything. Is I've always been really lucky that everything's kind of been handed on a plate. So my sister in America, they found us. When I did the documentary that never got made because they couldn't find her, they came to us. So every time we've tried to search for my birth mum, it was never us searching. We've always been very open to what's happened. And then obviously with the power of Facebook and stuff like that, we did try a few times and then we didn't find anything. And then I did an interview on BBC Essex, and mum was like, oh, you said this wrong, you said that wrong, just like dates and stuff. And I was like, oh, sorry. And we said, oh, have you tried looking for your birth mum again? And I was like, oh no, because you just get a realm of like list of names. And then the first person that came up, and this has never happened before, I was like, she's got the same chin. I mean, I've got a very distinct chin, so does my sister. So I know it doesn't, I know that that's a very kind of generic thing. And I was like, this woman's, and I was looking through. And then certain things started to like unravel that were a little bit too coincidental. But then again, I was like, no, don't get your hopes up, because there could be a lot of, obviously it couldn't be her. So then we wrote a message to her. And like we've written to people before, just saying, looking for my birth mum. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but this is the information that we have. Is this you? Please don't feel like you have to reply. So there was never any pressure on their side, because you don't know what you're walking into. You could be walking into an absolute war zone. They could have hidden that they'd had you. I mean, you don't want to wreck their lives, and you've got to be very careful. So the ball is very much in their court once we sent the message. And then I think within about half an hour, my mum comes running up the stairs with the phone, turns the phone around. There's another woman on the phone crying as well. I'm like, what's going on here? 11:30 at night. And yeah, doesn't speak English. So that was a little bit difficult. It was a very just insane thing to happen. And because you didn't speak, because we don't speak the same language, you can't communicate the same. But it kind of makes you even look more. You're like, got the same face, that kind of thing. So yeah, and then obviously the long conversations come and all the questions come, and yeah, no, it's been mega.
And how's your relationship looking like with your birth mum now?
I mean, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, and we found her at the beginning of lockdown. So it meant that we actually had time to sit and have a conversation as opposed to me rushing off to work or driving down to London, which I do quite a lot, and being like, oh, so can you just tell me this really important piece of information? Sorry, I've got to go now. Like when she's pouring her heart out. And also we're not forced to travel, which has been a really, I think, the biggest blessing, in that when I met my sister in America, it's always like, oh, I wonder who's going to go to what country first. And this has been totally taken out of our hands. So it's been amazing that can't happen, actually, because we can sit, we can have a conversation, and no one's rushing into anything as well.
And how did your parents feel when they first found out that you were now in contact with your birth mum?
Well, it was my mum's fault, so you can blame her. No, she'd sent a message, because every time that we've sent a message, it's always been through mum's account. Again, through absolute total honesty and openness as well. And my mum met my birth mum, and so she has that memory of her, and for her it's a huge deal. Like, this woman gave a baby to this other woman. Like, that is insane. Like, I can't imagine it. I don't have children, but I can't even imagine having to do that. So that in itself is a massively powerful thing. So for her, it was so emotional as well, and we just all sat and cried.
It's nice to hear though that like a positive story out of like kind of a negative situation as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Alongside all of that, you've also become an actress.
Yes.
So how come you went down that route? Where did it all start for you?
Like everything in my life, I do not plan anything. Everything that's happened has always happened by accident, but good accident, I believe. At school, I was very much into sports, thought I was going to be a gymnast, maybe thought I'd go into counselling just because I really like people. And then something happened at school where I found out that counselling is not for me at all. It would make me cry all the time, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. So I was always very much a vocational person. So from being a gymnast, I thought, what's the closest thing to gymnastics? Dance. Never really danced, but I like it. Singing, yeah, never really sang before. Obviously sang at local stuff, but not any singing lessons or anything like that. So that kind of steered me towards the musical theatre course. And then I think about 5 of us out of our year got into drama school, and I was always told, oh, you won't get into drama school, you're not dedicated enough. And because I hadn't wanted to do it from being 2, people just think that it's not, that shouldn't be a career, and it makes me quite cross. And then I auditioned, and I think there's about 4,000 people and 16 of us got placed, and I thought that was then when I was like, now I just need to take this seriously, and there's a lot of people that want these places, and I can't take this for granted. And then I went to East 15 and did stage combat.
What age were you when you first went into drama school and started taking it seriously?
I got in the first year that I auditioned. Whenever you audition for drama school, everyone's like, oh, you'll never get in at 17, you'll never get in at 18, because they always want people with a bit more life experience, a bit more performing experience, which is true. But also they do take, obviously, 18-year-old, yeah, because you start when you're 18. And then and that was another thing. They're like, oh, you won't get in because you've not got any performing experience and stuff like that. So I was very much prepared to not get in. So I went to 6 auditions, didn't get the first 5, I think. And then I went to Rose Bruford, I got a recall, and I was like, oh my God, like, yes, I'm going to get in. Like, I've not had a recall before. And then I didn't get in, and I was really sad. And I thought, gosh, I really do care about this more than I think. And then someone said, oh, why don't you try East 15? I said, I don't know. It's the last day of auditions. I've probably already got everybody. And then I auditioned for the acting course, and then got a recall for the stage combat on the same day. And then, yeah.
All those people that said you would never get in,
Yeah.
how did you stay positive? Because a lot of people would kind of go, oh, they've told me I'm not going to get in, I'm not going to bother. Whereas you obviously didn't. You kept going even though you had a few knockbacks.
Yeah, I think I'm very much if you tell me I can't do something, I'll do it. whether I was going to get in or not, that wasn't really at the time, possibly wasn't my goal, because I was maybe not long-sighted enough to be like, oh, I'm going to get it because she said I can't get in. It was more like, oh, well, she said I can't get in, so I'm going to go and audition. It was very much kind of a short-sighted thing. You learn very quickly that people will always tell you that you can't do something, especially in this career, especially when you start working. And that's been much more of a test than actually the drama school part. And then on the first day of drama school, they tell you that only 3% of you will be working within 5 years of graduating. So they tell you pretty quickly that you're not going to work. So on my first day, and I know that probably everybody in that room was going to be like, I'm going to be that person that works. But I remember sitting there looking around all the first years and thinking, I'm going to be that 3%. Even if I only get one job, I'm going to be that 3%. And that was it. But it wasn't kind of like, I'm going to show them. It was kind of like stubbornness. And I was like, I'm going to be 3%. Like, and not in a braggy way or a kind of ego way, because I actually had no acting experience at all. But it was just that kind of, no, I will, because you're saying it's so hard. That's it now. That's my benchmark. I want to be that person that's working. And then I did.
Would you say it's like self-belief as well as having like a hungry heart as such?
I don't think any performers really have a lot of self-belief at all. I think before I auditioned for Altogether Now, I think I did 15 auditions in a week and I didn't get one of them. You have to learn to be a business. That's what I've maybe learned over the years, is that's the difference, because there's a very fine line of being proactive and annoying. And you can keep writing to that person, but sometimes you just aren't good enough. And sometimes you've just got to accept that fact. Like, I am not going to audition for the Royal Ballet because I can't do a tondu. And I'm quite okay with that. But also you've got to know your market. So I'm short, I'm 5'2", I'm very commercial looking. So therefore I'm not necessarily going to go for the tall leading lady role because I don't fit the brief. I mean, casting is becoming much more open and things like that, but I think when people knock a typecast, I'm like, but that's getting you work. Like, embrace the typecast. Like, we can't help what we see on TV, so embrace the typecast. And you're an actor. You're not, just because someone typecasts as you as a plumber doesn't mean that you are a plumber. If you're so against being a plumber, do you know what I mean? It's so, yeah, you learn very quickly to be. You move on really quickly, whereas at first every audition is like, oh my god, this is going to be the end of the world if I don't get it, and you cry and you go, oh god, I'm awful, I'm never going to work, and you don't work for a long time. And that's more the hard part, when you've been working and then you don't get work. That's what I find where people struggle the most.
How quickly did you get work coming out of acting school? Was it quite quick, or?
I got my first Panto, so I graduated in the July. So I went to drama school and then I left. I had major surgery, so I worked and did a lot of music videos, built a lot of connections that way. Did extras work. I think that there's a lot of snobbery towards it. You have to be careful if you really want to take acting further, not to do too much extras work, but I think it's crucial. I think it's like any job, you need to educate yourself. You need to understand the people around you, their job roles, their terminology. I didn't know what a mark was when I first started, and watching other people get it wrong makes you not get it wrong when it's your time. And I then went back into training because I didn't have any dance experience, and then as soon as I graduated, I got work.
What age was that?
26,
okay.
I think, but I was working from probably about 2021. I've worked in and out of different things, a lot of music videos and stuff like that. But you can do a year of no acting. That's just kind of the reality of it. I think as well, people forget that you really are your office, and if you don't write to people, and if you don't update your CV, if you don't go to events, then you're not going to be seen. And I trained with exceptionally talented people where they were really the teacher's pet. They were always the ones that were getting picked for the lead in the show, and they haven't had like a single unpaid job. And at first I struggled to understand why. And someone told me when I was in my final term that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I was like, that's not true. Talent will always prevail and they will always work, and I'm not talented as them. And actually, it's so true, because people want to work with hardworking people. They want to work with nice people. They don't want to work with lazy people. They don't want to work with divas. And you kind of come out of it and you're like, oh gosh, they really aren't working. And then you have even more self-doubt, because you're like, oh my God, if they're that good and they're not working, I'm never going to work. So it's so complex. But yes, it's I now believe that saying.
So having that business mentality then, I suppose,
Yeah,
it's led to being successful, as opposed to, as you just said, sitting back, not doing anything.
yeah, definitely. I think we live in a world of reality TV where we have a massive sense of entitlement and people want to be famous for nothing. And that is a massive problem with an audience's perception of why an actor wants to act. A lot of people think you just want to be famous to be famous, and that's not true. People like Sarah Lancashire, Nicholas Lyndhurst, Julie Walters, they have this massive career, and you don't see them on every single magazine. I mean, obviously the tabloids do pick up on stuff, but you don't see them on every reality show. They don't do interviews left, right and centre, and it can be done without that. I think that, like anything in life that you want, you have to work hard, and you have to keep working. So for me, like, I haven't really sang this year, and I'm going into Panto, and like this kind of 2 months I've been like, gosh, I'm really out of shape. Like, it's just a muscle. I need to work hard. I need to, like I've been saying to you, like, I need to learn my lines. I need to rehearse, because it's part of your craft. And sometimes when you do have 6 months out, you aren't as good as like you were. It's just like a runner. You're not going to be as fast if you take 6 months out. So you have to keep singing. You have to keep going to classes, and you never stop learning from these practitioners, because everybody's got different things. Like East 15 was a method acting school, and they would make you go and sit on a rock for 6 months. Like that method acting. So, I mean, some people solely live by it. And then some people argue that I don't need to go and murder someone to be a murderer in a crime drama, or go and be raped to show that I can act it well. And so there's different techniques, and just learning loads of different things like that is it's really important.
I don't think there's enough understanding about how much actors do put into their roles. Obviously, we see it on telly, and
yeah,
they're there, they're acting, but there is so much hard work that goes into it, learning lines, the auditions.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll do 9 callbacks and then not get the job. It's just, that's the way it is.
But at least you keep going, and at least you just keep pushing on, really. You've done presenting, music videos, Panto. Where do you see your career going?
I have no idea. Because one job will absolutely change your year. So I was nominated for an award, and I contacted some local radio stations and said, I've been nominated. It's an industry specified award, so people that weren't in the industry maybe not know about it. Could I just come on the show and just explain it, and just because it was half a public vote and then half panel kind of thing. And I contacted a few around here, and I went to BBC York, and I went on a show. I had a 3-minute chat, and then I got an email from the producer saying, really liked your energy on the show, would you consider being a presenter? And I was like, yeah, all right then,
if I must.
Yeah. So I was like, is this serious? Like, this doesn't happen. So I was like, okay. And she was like, okay, cool, come and audition. I was like, I don't think I can even read. I don't know, what am I going to do? And so I read, and I presented a mock show, how they audition. And then I didn't find out for quite a while, and then I started filming altogether now. So I didn't do any training until I started. And I was like, wow, they're putting an idiot on a 3-hour live show. So I learned very quickly on the job. So that changed my whole year. I did do a few singing jobs and a few acting jobs, but it was solely taken over by presenting, because I was doing a weekly show, and it was an incredible thing. It was an incredible platform. I met amazing people. And then, not so much off the back of that, because I think I was still at Radio York, but then I presented at Countryfile Live, and that I was just like, is this real? Like, so it's just sometimes you'll be completely just thrown off course, because sometimes you can go, right, I'm definitely going to do musical theatre, I'm definitely going to do TV, I'm definitely going to do this. And I always said that I would never do theatre because my stage fright was just horrific, and it always makes me cry. And then I did Panto, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this because I think my heart's going to explode, and that's it, I'm done. And then it was one of the best jobs that I'd ever done, and now I've done it. This is going to be my 5th year. So I don't think you should ever say no to anything. And I don't think you should say yes to everything either. That's a good thing to remember as well.
Okay. You said there that you learnt a lot. What was one of the biggest things you learnt?
How to read. I know that sounds really funny, but for an actor, that is absolutely crucial. So when you do cold reads, I was dreadful. And you totally misinterpret what you're reading. It totally changes your character if you misread something. So that, definitely, I learned how to read. I learned so much more about the psychology of people and the fear of people as well. Like, I would have people come on and be absolutely terrified. So you have an ops room, and then you have the studio. So you'd be running your live show, and then you'd have your guest come into the ops room, and you'd see them chatting to the producer, getting kind of a little bit warmed up because they're a bit nervous. And then you'd have a song on, so they'd come in, and then you'd have a little bit of a chat, and then they'd get the microphone fit, and they'd be like, oh no. And you really learn how to be a people person in those situations, because what they didn't know is that I felt like I was going to have a heart attack at the same time, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was running this live show, and I've got a producer in my ear, and I'm trying to have to look after this person. But I think if you, like in anything in life, if you just be a human being, you can't really go wrong in that way, as long as you're understanding to that person, and you try and you kind of welcome their needs on the show. So if they're nervous, talk a bit more, or give them a bit more time. And if, I don't know, it's hard with a live show because things do go wrong, but you've just got to listen. That's the only thing that I think you can do in those situations, is just listen. And you can only ever, as a guest, and I would say this a million times over, is that you're never going to be wrong speaking your own truth. So someone that was coming in talking about ceramics, I don't know anything about ceramics, but you're going to tell me about ceramics. So therefore, what you're telling me is not wrong. It's your truth. It's your job. This is what you've come to talk about. And people, I think, used to think that they were going to get caught out, and that wasn't the point. It was to celebrate them and to celebrate the arts. And it was vast as well. I'd have someone on that was knitting. Then I'd have a woman that's just been in Colombia doing a film. It's just insane. And I was just like, gosh, my life is so rich, because I'm getting to meet all these amazing people that I'd never meet normally.
And I bet you learnt loads from that as well, like as in knitting and
I got so many gifts as well. I got so many gifts. It's so lovely. You're not really allowed to receive anything because it could be seen as bribery, but I think you're allowed to receive like little token things, like someone would make me something, or someone gave me a poster. But you can't receive a gift over a certain amount because it gets seen as bribery. No one bribed me, just putting it out there.
My final topic I want to talk about is Panto. Obviously, Christmas time. We've got the Christmas tree behind me. Heads are very dressed up this evening. You're in a Panto. What Panto is it for a start?
Well, I was doing Aladdin, but it's changed. I'm now doing Sleeping Beauty at the Billingham Forum, and I am playing Princess Aurora, aka Sleeping Beauty.
So do you just sleep in it, or have you got lines? Have you got a song?
Oh, very rude. I only sleep for half of it, okay?
Okay.
Yes, I have a lot more lines than I expected. I have a lot more songs than expected. It's very different this year, for obvious reasons. The show is an hour and 15 minutes as opposed to 2.5 hours. There's no interval. We had a meeting today about the regulations, and obviously we don't know if they're going to change again. So we're just playing every day by ear. I haven't worked with this company before, so I'm so scared, but I'm so excited because it's just nice to meet new people, and it definitely stretches your kind of bravery of stuff, because you can get quite settled. Like when I first did Panto, I'd never worked for that company before, and then I stayed with them, and I will hopefully work with them again. And you always feel like it's the first day of school, and you feel like everybody knows everybody. Turns out this year they do. But when I went into that company, I felt like they all knew each other, and they kind of did a little bit. Some of them worked together before, but you could become a family very quickly, and it's lovely. And it is the best time. And there's a real snobbery towards Panto, which I think is a real shame. And I don't know where that comes from. I think maybe because it's quite silly, but actually you have to be a really strong performer. Like last year I was doing 18 shows a week. I mean, in the West End, you're doing 8 shows a week. So you've got to be strong. There's never really an understudy. You've got to be fit and healthy. You've got to be vocally strong. You've got to be mentally strong. You've got to be on it all the time. You're doing a morning show, 10 o'clock in the morning. You've then got a 2 o'clock show, and then you've got your 7:30 show. And then you're doing press calls and you're doing interviews as well. So you just can't ever. And then when you finish after a 2-month run, you're like, I'm dying.
Show blues kicking, I bet, massively.
Massively, yeah. And it's the worst time because obviously we finish in January, February, where everyone's miserable. So it's that is hard, the show blues. But
you're looking forward to it?
I am, yeah. And the thing is, when you are in a panto, just to go back to show blues, is what a lot of people don't realise is that you're auditioning for stuff whilst you're doing your 3 show days. You've got to be auditioning for stuff to be able to work when you come out. So people think that you're just having a nice old time sleeping, being in Sleeping Beauty, but it's not. You're always emailing, you're always looking for the next job, your agent's putting you forward for stuff. So it's a really full-on time of the year, but I wouldn't change it, and I love it.
Well, best of luck, or break your leg, should I say. Finally, I do have 10 very quick questions. Are you ready?
I'm not sure.
You're filming about someone's life, dead or alive. Who would you want to play?
Oh, gosh. Ooh, the genie in Aladdin. He's got the best energy in the world. Oh, it has to be real. It has to be real. Sorry. Dead or alive. Oh, gosh. Actually, I'll tell you who I would love to play is, I can't remember the character name, and that's really bad. Sarah Lancashire played her in Seeing Red. And it's a true story, and that is awful that I can't remember off the top of my head, but you caught me off guard.
Sorry. Next question.
Yeah. Peanuts
or cashews?
How can you ask such a question? It depends on the day. Salted and peppered cashew nuts.
Best acting job you've ever done?
Probably, I was a very small role in it, and it's not come out yet, but it was for the Syndicate with Kay Mellor, and I got the job when we've been in the height of lockdown, and I've wanted to work with that woman for so long, and I would have played a tree in the background just to work with that woman. Like, I think she's incredible, and I did actually cry when I got the job. I hope she never hears that, but I did.
Pigs in blankets or Yorkshire puddings?
Pigs in blankets.
Pantomime or presenting?
Oh, panto.
Reason why?
They're not really comparable. They're totally different jobs, I think. Because I get to sing. If I started singing on BBC York, they'd be like, "What is she doing? Get her off."
You never know. Might be something to add in. Favourite way to keep fit?
I like running. It makes me miserable, but I do like it secretly.
Okay. Do you have any nicknames?
Mowgli, Titch, Peanut. That's a new one. Yeah, I use Mowgli, really.
Did you look like Mowgli when you were younger or something?
Yeah. And when I don't wear makeup, I'm still there.
Okay. Next question.
Oh no, go on.
Do you like fish and chips?
Personally, I only like the fish, but it has to have loads of salt and vinegar. And if anyone ever gets fish and chips, you need to do loads of vinegar, then salt, and then vinegar again.
Ooh, that's a good shout.
Always good for the arteries.
Favourite saying? It's
something like your smile is your logo, your attitude is your trademark. I've just totally butchered that saying, but it's very true. And your smile is your business card or something like that. And it's very much across the board, would work in any type of job or life situation.
Final question, obviously sticking around the Christmas themed, the best gift you've ever received?
Probably a ticket. Yeah, probably a ticket to America to see my sister, or like money, like having money towards it and things like that. That was.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
It just goes to show that in life we do get setbacks along the way. As we heard Ionica speak about, she's had so many setbacks and so many disappointments where she didn't necessarily get the job. But she kept going, she kept being proactive in her approach, and that has led to her being a success. You can follow Ionica at the links here. If you have someone that inspires you, comment below. I'm always so interested to find out who others find inspirational. Likewise, if you have an inspirational story to tell, comment below, drop me a message on social media, or even drop me an email. See you later!